Hey everybody, welcome back to the Live Ultralight Podcast powered by Outdoor Vitals. Today in this episode, we're going to be talking about the best gifts for backpackers this upcoming holiday season. I've got Derek here, our marketing director, on to discuss this with me. And we're just going to go through a whole bunch of different categories of gifts for different price points, different types of people. And hopefully by the end of this, we'll just make your life a little easier. I know personally, when it comes to the holiday season, I can get a little stressed out for just what gifts, you need and some of that. I mean, thankfully, being working here at Outdoor Vitals, sometimes that is a little easier for me, and I probably lean on that too much. So hopefully today we'll give you some ideas from Outdoor Vitals, but maybe we'll give you some ideas just in general as well. But Derek, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Honestly, Maddie and I are actually in the middle of what you were just talking about. We are in the middle of stressing. We're actually starting to stress a little bit about what we're supposed to be getting for people right now. But
we got to talk about that because it's November 1st. Like, stress shouldn't exist already, right?
Well, yes, you're right about that. But for us, we are actually meeting up with our family during Thanksgiving time for Christmas because
gift swaps then.
Yes. And so everything's bumped up a month, which is why we're starting to stress. We haven't really gotten very far at all yet. And so we're like, oh, well, actually that's only in a couple of weeks when we're supposed to go and drive and visit family and do this gift exchange. So for some people like me and my wife, it's the time to worry about it.
Yeah. The most important day for me is the last ship day. No, before Christmas. No. I set a goal every year to be more proactive with it, and I've gotten better. But it used to be like Christmas Eve, I was going around town trying to figure things out, and so thankfully I'm better than that now, and hopefully I'll continue that. But no, I don't think this should be a stressful thing. This should be good thing, fun thing, so hopefully by us, talking about this early enough on, it'll just help make life a little easier for everyone listening. But
well, honestly, I really do think that this is going to be a great resource for anybody. The only reason I'm stressed a little bit right now is because I've already given some of the ideas that we want to share with you with some of my friends and family. There's some good ideas that we've got that really, whether you're a backpacker or not, or your friends and family are backpackers or not, there's some really great things for anyone. And we've kind of both had some experience proving that concept with family and friends over the years. So I'm at the point right now where I've already used my good ideas, I guess we could say, and got to come up with something new here. So, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Let's do this really quick. We have the marketing director on the podcast, so he's going to want to hit this point. But we are going to have an early Black Friday sale. And the other thing I just want to note too is, and I'll let you give the details on that in a second, but we have a lot of members, a lot of Live Ultralight members who have a lot of credit in their accounts. Now is a great time to spend that. And even if you're not shopping for, say, a backpacker, there's a lot of great options that we're going to cover today. They can still be very applicable and allow you guys to make sure to spend some of that credit. So be thinking about that. Now's a great time to use that bank account that you've been storing money into all year. But Derek, I guess, give us the high-level quick pitch of what this sale is going to be.
So our early Black Friday sale is, first and foremost, early, as Tayson mentioned. It's going to be, if you wait till Black Friday, I guess I could put it that way. If you wait until Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you've missed it completely. It's going to be that early. So I can't give you the details yet on exactly what the dates will be. I just want you to make sure if you are on our email list or you've signed up to receive text, make sure you're checking those updates. We will let you know with good amount of time to make sure you can take every opportunity and take advantage of that sale. That out of the way, some of the cool things to be excited for is going to be site-wide. Everything on the website is going to be on sale. You're going to be able to get some pretty big discounts. There's some blanket discounts that's going to apply to everything, but that is going to stack on top of anything that's already discounted a little bit. And so there's certain products on our site that will be, the prices are lower this time of year. On top of that, the site-wide discounts they'll pretty much give you some pretty significant discounts that you can look forward to. One product, I won't tell you which one, is going to be up to about 60% off once the sale goes live. And so make sure you're watching your inboxes. Make sure that you're kind of waiting for that. The discounts is a part of it, but the other side is that with every single order, we're going to be giving away free bonuses. So no matter what you order, you're going to get something for free. And then there's additional opportunity for free gear based on order value. And so if you've got a list, especially after listening to this podcast, of things that you want to order and you can order it all in one order, that's going to basically increase the amount of free backpacking gear. And this is going to be a legitimate gear, not just like, a sticker or something that you can get. So make sure you're taking advantage of the free bonuses, the discounts, and right now is the time to kind of get that list in your head or written down somewhere of what you want to get, whether it's for you, for friends, for family, and then you can take the most out of that sale once it goes live.
I believe this podcast will be coming out right around the same time that sale is happening. So if you're hearing this, make sure it's on your radar. Okay, let's jump into it. I was going to talk about like some winter plans and some stuff we've got going on, but I think let's just jump right into the gift ideas, and if they come up, they come up. So first category I wanted to start with was best gifts for kids. I have 2 kids. I take them backpacking, and so what works in that category, I guess. And Derek, I know you've got lots of little nieces and nephews and things, so it can be on your radar if you don't have too many ideas. But I'm going to start off with number 1. I mean, what my kid will be getting is likely a pedal bike. I mean, that's not necessarily a backpacking related thing, but I'll throw that out there. That's like, I'm always looking for just anything that gets my kids outside, even if it's not, say, backpacking, right? So there'll be that. But some other ideas that I came up with when I'm thinking about what do my kids love doing when we go backpacking? Number 1, they love my hiking poles. So like, you may not want, I mean, you can, right? You could totally get them a pair of like really nice poles. Like we offer Compradels, but you may just want to go into Walmart, Costco, whatever, and get a cheaper pair of hiking poles to let your kids play with. My kids love them. It makes them feel super legit on the trails. And there's something about that just makes clicking off miles more enjoyable for them. So that'd be number 1. Number 2, like fire starters. My kids love fires. So getting them like a pyro putty or something like that, that's going to just be like something they can kind of play around with fire, obviously under supervision. But I know that my kids would really enjoy that. Like giving them something that would allow them to start the fire versus just watching dad. So that's something that came up, something that they love while backpacking. And also fishing poles. Like go get them the $20 fishing pole that's got, Ninja Turtles on it or something like that. Kids love to fish. I think it's a great time to just get them on that track. And my kids also love anything to do with like tackle for fishing, like bait, hooks, all those silly looking things. They'll sit there and play in the dirt with all of the tackle, right? So anything related to those, I think your kids are going to enjoy, and it'll be stuff that they can look forward to going backpacking with later.
About 3 weeks ago, I actually took my nieces and nephews fishing for the first time in their life. I was with their dad, my brother-in-law, and we took them fishing. They actually live just like a block away, essentially, is the distance, I guess, from a pond that's stocked with fish. And so we had these poles, and we took them just down the street a little ways on this little nature walk, I guess, that runs by their house to this pond, and they loved it. And so there's 5 of these kids. There's 3 girls, 2 boys, and they all loved it. All of them have, all kinds of different ages, all kinds of different interests. But I think that's a phenomenal idea. Definitely the fishing poles, the tackle, just getting them out there to do that, especially the first time or when they're young. And you do the work for them a little bit, Get the hook on the line, then they love it.
There's something for kids to hiking to like a destination, and so hiking to a lake has just always worked so well for my kids, because like when we get to the lake, we're there, and then there's stuff to do. I can throw rocks, I can fish, we can set up camp, we can, yeah, I think that's a good one to have on your radar. Last one I'm going to put in here for kids that I don't – this isn't coming from a ton of experience, So obviously with our whole podcast, right, the purpose of this podcast is to be informative, to educate and help you guys go out on trail more confidently. Hopefully also just inspire and be entertaining too. But clothing is like a big thing for kids, right? Obviously like Outdoor Vitals, we sell high-end ultralight performance clothing. And when you're talking about kids don't take care of stuff. They're crazy hard on stuff. They get it crazy dirty. They stain it all the time. And so it's tough to know what to do. And so historically, I've just made a lot of my decisions on what to acquire based off of just inspecting individual products that I have in front of me. I'm not necessarily going out to, say, Patagonia and buying my kid a $200 jacket because they're one of the few companies that have a kids line. I'm not saying that's the wrong thing to do. I just haven't been able to justify it with how fast my kids grow. I mean, I have a 4-year-old and a soon-to-be 7-year-old. So, but something that was referred to me as a good option was actually from a company called Decathlon. They do make some kids apparel, and it is much more affordable, but it still has that outdoor focus. So that might be something if your kids do need some clothes, some backpacking, outdoor clothes, jackets, might be something to look at. I have yet to do this. So this is an unproven thing. Maybe leave us a comment on YouTube, on the podcast on YouTube, if it's something that you've tried or do get a product, and let me know, because it's something that I've had a shopping cart built a few times and I just haven't pulled the trigger. But I need to get my kids a little bit better winter clothes and something that's just a little better than what I've got for them so far. So yeah. I know you guys are all be like, well, why doesn't Outdoor Vitals make kids clothes? And it's a great question. Biggest reason is just the market size is so small. And so for a company as small as us, we cannot justify it with numbers, right? So, maybe one day, but obviously we would, even if we went down that path, it would be a slow progress. We'd start with probably more like teenage kids and younger. It would not jump straight to like toddlers and stuff. So, but yeah, no need to ask that question. I'll just answer that ahead of time.
So before we move on to the next category, I actually do have 2 ideas that we haven't talked about for kids' gifts. Okay. Now these, I really think that your kids will love them, but they are a little bit more on the practical side as well. And both are actually Outdoor Vitals products. So one thing that I've learned a lot from my nieces and nephews and different kids that I've interacted with and my family and things is that everybody loves their own fort or their own space. And so getting them something like a tent, especially an ultralight tent that they're able to carry a little bit easier, will give them kind of a sense of fulfillment. Like, hey, this is my tent. This is my space. They can set it up in the living room. They can set it up in the backyard. Or you can kind of start taking them backpacking, and they're going to be more excited about it because this is theirs. Everybody likes to feel like this is my thing, right? Especially when you're younger. And so specifically, I'm thinking of a freestanding tent, like something like our Dominion, one person. That's something that they could carry, even if it's all they carried, even if they're really young. But it would be theirs, and then they would love that, even at home. A little bit, another kind of more practical idea is a top quilt. So this is kind of for those of you that maybe want to get your kids hiking a little bit more with you, backpacking a little bit. You want them to stay comfortable and have a really fun time. The top quilt can help with that in a number of ways. One, it's so lightweight that, if they want to carry it, they can carry it, and there's not going to be a problem. It compresses so small, it can fit in like a little, even their school backpack, and that's not going to be a problem. But on the flip side, especially if they're younger kids, they're really short or really small, you could even get away with, something like a 30-degree quilt that's really light and really compressible. Because, at that point, if you're only 3 or 4 feet high, most of your body is going to be in the foot box inside of that top quilt, and you can clip the bottom buckle on that, and then basically fold it over on itself to layer it for some extra warmth. So they're going to stay warmer while carrying a quilt that is lighter. No, it's not built specifically for them, but because, if your kids are smaller, you can fold it over. You can still keep them warm in colder conditions without having to, buy a 0-degree quilt or something like that. And it goes back to the same thing. This is theirs. They have that sense of entitlement to it and ownership. Yeah. But on the more practical side, it can keep them warm, and it's light enough and small enough for them to carry.
Nice. One other thing I thought about, it's kind of funny. This is not parenting advice. It's just something I do that's probably not the way to parent. But you could get them like a bag of candy or something, like their favorite candy, and just say, this is for when we go backpacking. Because anytime I go backpacking, I let my kids choose like a candy or a treat or something like that. They get to take that out there, and just something that they've always like loved. It kind of goes along with that scenario. So, or my kids really love the biscuits and gravy peak refuel meal. Maybe I should just give them like my oldest, bag of that or something in a candy just bag. All right, next time I go backpacking, like this is for that. And just kind of a little incentive, I guess, to get out there and do some of that kind of stuff that, you want your kids to get into at a younger age so that it can be a healthy, lifelong habit. But all right, let's move on from kids here. Let's start on the cheaper end, and then we'll move our way to the higher end. So first category would be gifts under $25. What do you got?
Under $25, I think some of the best gifts are, you've mentioned fire starters already, but honestly, those are just applicable for anybody. Anytime having something that you can rely on to start a fire.
It's a first aid thing.
It's just
for
nice.
Me.
It's a stocking stuffer. It's just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Okay. Any others?
I would also say a pillow. Again, whether you're a backpacker or not, we've actually had a lot of reviews come in. As a marketing director, I see a lot of the feedback we get from customers on things that we're doing, a lot of testimonials or reviews, and you'd be actually really surprised the number of people that specifically say in the review that, I swapped this pillow out for, the pillows on my bed because I like it better. So our ultralight stretch pillow that we've got on our website, we've just actually did an upgrade on it. We've come up with a newer model, I guess you could say, that's got these silicone non-slip dots on the back, so it won't slide around in your tent or on your pad. And it's also got these tabs on the side, these reinforced tabs, so that you can tie on a pad strap and really reinforce it and lock it in place. So, and these pillows, they only weigh like 2.6 ounces. And they pack down, smaller than my palm here. It's just such a lightweight item, and it works so great for anything, whether you're traveling, you whip that thing out on a plane or on the bus or whatever. You can kind of lean against the wall or the window and be way more comfortable. And it really is in my opinion, a good gift for anybody, and it's under $25.
Yeah, and with that version too, we did offer 2 different heights. So you can dial in kind of if you're, say, a side sleeper, you can get the taller one. But yeah, to your point, even if you're not a backpacker, I do take them when I travel in case I get to a hotel and it has like the worst pillow ever, which happens, and then it can really mess your neck up or something. So I know I can sleep with that, so I do take it, and I've definitely given a lot of those away in the past for Christmas gifts.
I've got one more that I would think is a great gift for under $25 on at least on my list here, and that is socks, which I know is
that was on my list.
That's the thing that I know. It's Christmas lore is like socks are the worst gift. There's kind of got this
or the best. Yeah.
They've got this reputation for that, but honestly, if you really think about it, if you get some backpacking socks, actually it's one of the best gifts. My personal favorite is Darn Tough. They've got that lifetime warranty, so you give the socks once, and then that person basically going to have socks for the rest of their life. They're just so much better for anything you're doing outside with, keeping your feet warm and comfortable and not having the downsides of, cotton socks or whatnot. So Darn Tough socks are honestly a great gift.
Yeah, I have given those for Christmas gifts before, and they've always been very well received, especially when you explain the lifetime value component if they're not familiar with them. So yeah, that's a solid one. That's a solid one, and one that was on my list. But other ones that I've got 2 other ones. I have given in the past titanium cooking ware or just like cook type kits in the past. So I've done like alcohol stoves, which is always kind of a fun one because everyone's a little bit of a pyro and they love like playing with stuff like that. And so that's a good one. Obviously like pots, or even this would be a little bit more than 25, but like our Optimus, just a really lightweight backpacking stove for like it goes on like a fuel can, not the alcohol version, or even titanium spoons. But pretty much that whole category of like titanium cookware has been something that a lot of people will typically have some kind of cooking gear. but it's not always like the premium titanium stuff, right? And so I'll throw this out there actually right now. What I find works best for Christmas or holiday shopping is if you can find those little niches of things that people want, but they won't buy for themselves, which is getting harder, right? Like as a society, if we want stuff, we buy it now. We live in a time of a lot of abundance in a lot of ways, right? Yes, there's a lot of people that live, below poverty levels and things like that, but there's a lot of people spend the money they do or don't have on stuff that they care for, right? So that's like really important to them. So finding these little niche categories of stuff that like they want, but they may not be able to justify that cost, or like, like I have a spoon. Why do I need like a titanium spoon? Like little things like that. Well, it's like, it's a want, maybe not a need all the time. Finding those, I think, is the pocket here that I'm looking for with gifts. So yeah, titanium stuff, cooking gear is up there. One that came up, and this one maybe is more of a need, but in my mind it's more of a need. But like a medical kit, a first aid kit for backpacking, you can buy those in kits now, and they're just. It's one of those things that, is another thing that like sometimes people just don't think about. So sometimes that is a benefit to help them think about that or upgrade their first aid kit, especially these are people you care about, right? So those are some of the ideas I had under 25. Obviously, like pillows. Again, socks has been a phenomenal one. I think the older you get, the more socks make sense as a gift. So anyways, anything else under 25 or around 25?
I think that's about my list right now.
Okay, let's jump to the $50 category. What do you got there?
This one is a good one. Honestly, $50 gives you a lot of room for some cool stuff. Obviously, you can cover, if your budget's $50, you can cover anything we just talked about. But it opens up some more things that I think are even cooler. First and foremost on that list is the Altitude. So we've got the Altitude Sun hoodie, and then we've also got the Altitude Performance tees, which is a long sleeve and a short sleeve version. Those are phenomenal. As far as we are aware, the Altitude Sun hoodie is the lightest weight synthetic hoodie on the market. It's just under 4 ounces, depending on what size you get, and it is so breathable. This thing is lightweight, it is breathable, it wicks moisture really, really well, and then it dries really, really quickly. And so it's just an all-around great base layer, whether you're in warm weather conditions and just want to block the sun, keep yourself from getting sunburn on your neck, your arms, or whatever, or you can use it as, a base layer in the winter because it does so well at wicking moisture off your body and then drying. Especially in the winter, it's still a great base layer any time of year. And obviously for the short sleeve or long sleeve tee options, those same qualities apply. Both of those are just going to be a little bit lighter since there's no hood, and on the short sleeve there's, just these short little sleeves on it. So honestly, I don't know if we're going to get to this later or not, but that's something that would be on my personal Christmas list. Like what I want is more Altitudes. The performance you get out of these things for under $50 is insane. And we have multiple color options because of the different fit options, like the long sleeves or the hood. There's just a lot of things you can do with it, a lot of different applications, be it backpacking, wearing to the gym, wearing around town. They look nice. They're just a comfortable, really, really functional piece of equipment, piece of gear. And honestly, I would really love to get an Altitude tee or hoodie or anything.
All right, I'm going to cut in here because I'm realizing that your list is probably going to be identical to mine. Dang it. I'm looking at the next one on there, which is down booties, which is also on my list. That's been something I've also given in the past. So like our Loft-Tech hybrid down booties, phenomenal gift because it's basically just a really warm pair of socks that they can wear to sleep. And for backpackers, specifically a lot of backpackers, that's a very big concern they have is keeping their feet warm. And it's kind of a niche enough product that a lot of people don't know these things exist. So that's a great one. You give those to them, just be like, look, you should never have cold feet again unless you're like in way severe conditions where your bag is way underrated or your pad is way underrated. But no, like this is kind of a gift that keeps on giving because every time they go to backpack and they take those, like they're going to remember you for keeping their feet warm every night then and forward. So
if you guys have ever heard of Hike Oregon, she's got a YouTube channel. Well, her name is Francisca, but her YouTube channel is Hike Oregon. And we've had her out with a couple other people to come backpacking with us once or twice. And we ended up giving her some of these booties. And at first she didn't really think too much about them, but then she used them. And now I got an email from her fairly recently, and she basically says she uses them pretty much every trip, except for in the summer when it's just kind of too warm. They're just so light and so nice to have. Like Tayson said, you just know you're going to have warm feet, whatever happens on your trip. Your socks get wet, you step into the water, whatever, your shoes are soaked. You can peel those off and get into these booties when you crawl into your tent at night, and you just know you're going to have that extra bit of insulation. And for just like a couple of ounces, it is so worth that peace of mind and comfort while you sleep.
Yeah, if I would have had down booties, I would have saved myself getting frostbite twice on my feet. So that's actually was the motivation to initially develop these. Not that it's like a new or completely new idea, but specifically like the Loft-Tech hybrid aspect, because in both scenarios, my feet got wet for very prolonged periods of time, and I didn't have, be due to tons of situations and stories that I can tell at a different time, ended up getting frostbite and losing feeling in toes for about a month at a time. So great piece of gear, and a lot of people really, really like them. What else? What else can be under 50, either outdoor vitals gear or non-outdoor vitals gear for backpackers? I just thought of one.
Well, I have one too. Hopefully it isn't the one you just thought of, but we've got these foam pads, these closed cell foam pads.
Those are under 25 though, right? Those would have been, they could be under the other category. But great one.
They fit under this category as well, and I do think they're worth mentioning. I mean, for such a low price.
Wait. I got to stop you. These are probably top of mind for you because we just went on a trip.
We did.
And Derek, tell them what you did.
Well, I was packing the night before, as one does, right? And thought I had everything laid out and on the ground. I was just kind of throwing it in my pack.
You probably had it packed. And then you got kicked out of the bed, and had to sleep on the floor. So you blew it up to sleep on it, left it there. No, I was kidding.
No. This was just totally just me messing up, just 100%. It never, basically my sleeping pad, my insulated sleeping pad never made it into my pack. And I realized once we were already on the road and, heading towards the trail. And so we get on the trail and I didn't even want to open my pack once we started hiking because I didn't want to confirm that fear. I just wanted to face it when we're actually setting up camp. If it was a reality, I was still crossing my fingers at that point, hoping that okay, maybe I'm just not remembering putting my pad in there. Maybe it is in there when I open my pack to set up camp tonight. I hope it's there. It was not. We get to camp, start setting up, and yeah, sure enough, my pad was not there. I had brought one of these 1/8-inch foam, closed cell foam pads. So I figured, well, at least I have this. It's like this tiny little bit of insulation and at least this tiny little 1/8 of an inch of cushion from the hard ground as well. Thankfully, one of our other team members, Narissa, she had brought an 1/8-inch foam pad too, as well as her insulated pad. And she's like, yeah, I don't really need it. The ground's level. My pad's not going to be sliding around. If you want to borrow I basically borrowed her foam pad as well, and Tayson had a sit pad, like a little sit pad that I borrowed too. So basically, all I had that night was 2 of these 1/8-inch foam pads, a little sit pad that didn't even come close to covering my body's height as well when I laid it out on the ground underneath me, and then I just used the foam on my CS40 back panel, which purposefully has a lot of ventilation and holes through it.
Yeah, basically slept on top of an empty backpack.
Yep, just stuffed my whole backpack underneath me, that sit pad, and then I had a Nova Pro jacket that I didn't really want to wear that to bed, so I wadded that up as well. And then on top of those 3 items, I just stacked those 1/8-inch foam pads. And I was gearing up to kind of have a miserable night.
I told him to wake me up and get the car keys at some point when he decides that it's going to be too cold. Because it was a cold night.
It was cold.
It was freezing temperatures and a lot of moisture.
I'll tell you what, I have actually never, and this is not exaggerating, I have actually never seen that much ice on the inside of my tent. And that's not because the tents don't, breathe. They do. They have a lot of ventilation, but we were fairly close to like a pond.
We're next to a pond, and the ground just had so much moisture in it.
And so that combined with the freezing temperature, there's just so much ice on the inside of my tent when I woke up. But that's the good news is I slept
inside
so
and outside.
Well that night.
Yeah.
I woke up to see the ice. It wasn't like tossing and turning throughout the night and getting cold. I was actually incredibly warm on top of the closed cell foam pads, which was surprising. I mean, this is only a fourth of an inch of foam at that point on top of some other items that are kind of not the most ideal things to be sleeping on, but it worked great for me. And that really came in handy when I forgot my insulated pad. So other things about this pad is it's just so light. It weighs just what?
2.5 for the 40, maybe 3 for the 60-inch.
You're looking at 2 to 3 ounces depending on the length that you get. And this thing can fold, it can roll, you can kind of put it wherever and just whip it out as a sit pad if you're taking a break on the trail, kneel on it when you're, setting things up in your tent, whatever you want. It's just so useful. And then it also does, if you do want to insulate where you're sleeping a little bit more, if you lay it out underneath your insulated pad, it kind of helps prevent your pad from sliding on your tent floor as well. There's just a lot of things you can do with it. So I want to add that. Like Tayson said, it's probably more in the under $25 category, but before we move on to things a little bit more expensive, this is just something else that is just so useful.
Yeah. One other thing that I'm going to put in this $50 category, you'll likely be just over 50 for something like this, but a Tenara fishing rod has been something I've gifted multiple times and has been very well received. But if you're not familiar with what a Tenara fishing rod is, it's basically a telescoping, really long rod. Then you just tie the string for basically fly fishing to the end of it. It's really for rivers and smaller ponds and lakes and things like that. It's Tenara technically comes from like Japan, but you can find some on Amazon, some kits for close to $50, and they've been pretty solid for me. I think the brand I've used is called Angler's Dream. There's some much nicer poles out there where you can spend $100 to $200 for sure, and I'm sure someday I'll get a hold of some of those. But if you just want to kind of give it a shot, you can get into a pole for a pretty decent price. And the nice thing is my entire fishing kit, that includes like pliers, the pole, a little box of flies, etc., is like less than 8 ounces. So for an ultralight backpacker, it's an easy thing to add in and just fish if you want to fish, or you hardly notice it if you don't end up fishing at all. So good idea. Okay, let's jump to, I guess, what do you have? Do you have under 200? I have under 250. I didn't specify this, or I don't know, some of these categories here. This is going to get the middle area, and then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about things that we have given in the past and things that we want for Christmas. So this is kind of, we'll just say this is the gray middle area of $200 to $250-ish of gear.
I would say that, if you're okay with it, Tayson, I would think a good category to talk about once we, pass this under $50 mark is, the prices of things can vary so much from there. You can get anything from 120 to 380 or more, and not have a ton of items that fit in each category. But I think a good category to talk about would be, if we're going to look at slightly more expensive items, chances are you've got a specific person in mind that you want to get those more expensive items for. Some of them means a lot to you, whether it's your wife, whether it's a family member, friend, and you just want to know, people might want to know what's the best thing I can get for that person. Mm-hmm. So I do have some ideas specifically for, what would you get for, a woman, like for me, my wife, that would kind of be in that category around $250, a little bit less. And for me, that is hands down the Vario jacket. The Vario jacket is $210 full price. And this thing just can do so much. And it doesn't matter if she's a backpacker, hiker, or not. You don't have to be a performance athlete to have this performance level gear. It just can make anyone's life so much more comfortable and enjoyable. Now, here's why. So my wife, I did get her a Vario jacket, and she wears it all of the time, any time of year. She loves the full zipper on the front. It's really easy for her to put on, take off. It has a really flattering fit. We do have women's specific sizing with the Vario, and a few different color choices as well. But the amount of warmth for how much weight this thing is just makes it so comfortable and keeps her at the right temperature. So it's just 9 ounces, and there's 3D FX insulation inside that really just stretches with you when you move. So with this really flattering fit, if she's kind of walking around or running anywhere or doing whatever, it allows the jacket basically can breathe with her a little bit more and keep her from overheating. But if she's just sitting there stagnant, hanging out, sitting on the plane, they've got the AC turned way too high on airplanes pretty much every time.
You go from overheating 1 second to freezing like as soon as you get in the air, right?
Right. So if she's just sitting on the plane, this thing is nice just to throw the Vario on with that full zipper. It's just really easy to put on or take off. And that insulation will actually insulate more when it's not being stretched and those fibers are being pulled to allow more heat to basically pass through. So that jacket is amazing. And because it's so light and packs down so small, she can take it anywhere. She can fit it in her purse if she wants to. It's just not something that you have to worry about as far as bulk goes or weight. Really, she can take it anywhere and it looks good. So that would probably be my first idea for that $250 or under category. But specifically, I think that's a really, really great gift for women.
Yeah. Sticking with jackets for a second, I thought you were actually going to say the Nova Pro. I will say this, the Nova Pro in the smoke color. I don't know if we have stock on this. Hopefully we do. But that in person, the amount of women that'll walk by our booth and see that on a mannequin and stop, come back, and sometimes buy a $250 jacket on site.
Just on a whim.
Because they like the look of it so much. And then obviously it's a really warm, puffy jacket, packs down, etc. That's definitely one to be on your radar for that. The other one that I'm going to say kind of fits into that category of like a want, but not always like a high need, is the Tusher rain jacket. So our Tusher rain jacket, it's around $230, $225 full price. And that's a piece that like, it's tough to always justify a rain jacket in that, like spending a ton of money on a rain jacket because you're a lot of times, at least out here, like you're not wearing a rain jacket every day. You're not wearing a rain jacket on every trip even, or every day of a trip all the time. And so it's one of those pieces where you're like, well, I could buy like a Frog Tog $40 rain jacket and it gets me by and whatever. But it's like going to be going to like that upper echelon of premium if you were to get them a Tusher rain jacket. The Tusher rain jacket's an amazing piece. It's been featured by Outside Magazine and Backpacker Magazine as best backpacking rain gear. It's a phenomenal piece with a lot of really cool technology in it, from the 3D printing in it to using 2 different types of membranes, etc. So it's one of those things that may not always be like top priority, like they can justify themselves spending money on it. But if you got it for them, it's going to be a rain jacket they can have for years and years and years and just enjoy the benefits of a well-venting piece that's not going to wet out. It's a really cool piece. So
that's actually one that I have on my own personal list of what I would want for Christmas is another Tusher rain jacket. I currently have one. It's one of our prototypes that I've been testing since before we launched them.
Like the blue one?
Yeah, the old navy blue ones. You kind of might see it in some of our YouTube videos if you are subscribed to our channel there. But it works so well. And because that prototype was far enough along where we were pretty much ready to launch it at that point, it just continued to work. But I love it so much that I would want another one. And for the same reason, like I can't justify necessarily like buying another one since I have that one that I've been using and it works great. But I mean, the colors alone on that thing just make it look so nice on the final, product, the final launch product that you guys can order right now on our website. But, Tayson's right. This thing has got a lot of attention and with good reason. The rain technology built into it, the durability of this thing. If you guys want to know what the jungle test is, I really, really suggest you get on our website, look up the Tusher rain jacket, and kind of go read down in the description more about the jungle test. This is super, super impressive stuff. But basically, this rain jacket, this 7-ounce rain jacket, goes above and beyond in performance. And so, yeah, that's definitely one that I would actually want another one. So
yeah. Okay. Anything else in this category? I mean, I will say I've given jackets before. They've always been extremely well received. It's a very universal product, right? And it's also a product that a lot of people wear through, or I don't know, like they change out a little bit more frequently or something. So I just don't think you can go wrong with a jacket. But
yeah, well, here's kind of, I guess, a little bit of a story. I'm probably the only backpacker in my family, like out of my siblings and parents and whatnot. But last year or 2 years ago, maybe, my dad came by with my mom. They were coming down to visit kind of this area and stay with my wife and I. And my dad ended up picking up a Nova Pro jacket, which we've mentioned before for women, but really it's a great gift for men as well. We have sizing for both men and women. But anyways, he picked this jacket up, and it's become one of his very favorite jackets. The warmth for the weight and the comfort you get out of this thing is amazing. Lo and behold, a month or two later, I get a text from my mom. She's like, you know what? Like, could I get one as well? And I'm like, oh yeah, of course. So she orders one. And then within, a couple of days, I think it was, she texted me again. She's like, I want to get one for your little sister. She's like going to college. She's always cold up there in Logan. USU campus has got this crazy wintertime going on. And so she wanted to buy one for my sister. And so, now three members of my family have the Nova Pro, and they all love it. I was just up visiting last weekend, hanging out with family a bit, and still they're walking around with Nova Pros. And this is an awesome jacket.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're not backpackers. Anybody will love it.
Yeah. Anything else in the $250 category, either from us or not from us?
I honestly don't know the price of this, but I'm sure it's under $250. Is the Helinox chair. That's a great gift. I mean, if you want a luxury item, that's an amazing one. It really is just, if you're like me, you're not very flexible, right? So you try sitting on the ground and you last about 5 minutes before deciding, this is terrible. I'll lay on the ground, but sitting on the ground is just not comfortable. And it's kind of socially unacceptable for me to be laying on the ground by the fire with everyone else sitting there. It's just kind of weird. But
we got to work on that, Derek.
Yeah, I just am not a flexible
take
guy.
Take your chair away for a while and make you work on the ground.
You'll notice, Tayson, I'm always finding a rock or a log because it is significantly more comfortable than the ground. Just because,
yeah, that's interesting.
Well, and here's the backstory though. It's not just more, this lack of flexibility that I've developed recently. Ever since I was in kindergarten or first grade, when they try to have you sit cross-legged and things during story time or whatever, I could not. It was just the worst thing of my entire life, even as a kindergartner or first grader, to sit cross-legged. Just sitting like that, if you're like me, it is not an option if you want to be comfortable. But Helinox chairs, they're really not that heavy, and I'm sure they're under the $250 price point. That would be a phenomenal gift for a backpacker as well.
Yeah, I'm just still hung up on the whole floor sitting thing and how, so when I was in Malaysia, I mean, that's all we did was sit on wooden floors. If you're in a nice house, it might be concrete or tile.
Yeah.
But you just sat on the floor like everywhere, right? And I developed calluses on my feet, which is like the weirdest thing you can imagine. On the top side of your foot, I developed calluses just from sitting on the floor so much. And so I think sitting on the floor is almost like a stretching, comfortable motion. The only thing is that eventually it'll start to, like, my back will start to get tired. But leg wise, that's I mean, not to say I don't love Helinox chairs and those kinds of chairs, but it's just I never noticed. I guess I never realized how much you don't like just sitting on the ground.
I hate just sitting on the ground. If there's a backrest, it's great. If I can prop my back against like a boulder,
your feet out straight,
kick my legs out straight in front of me, that's great. But yeah, just sitting on flat ground with nothing, it's just, you got me for 5 minutes and I'm getting up and doing something else, or I'm gonna go lay down somewhere. That's about what I got. So
I've got another idea. I think this would fall into the $250 category. This is an expensive product, but it's still the best product in my mind, which is the Thermarest X Therm NXT. So the X-Therm is basically like an extreme winter pad. So it's something that you would use when you head out in the dead of winter. Now, we talk a lot about taking a 3-season pad, layering it with closed-cell foam pads to make a 4-season pad. That does work. I've done it a lot, right? But if you want like the Cadillac of winter backpacking sleeping pads, a Thermarest X-Therm should be on your list. You're gonna pay for it, right? Like it's like a $200+ pad, but weight to warmth and also even durability factor of that pad, very high, very great pad. Something someone who's willing to backpack in cold months, winter months, would surely love. So
absolutely.
Okay, let's jump to. Do you want to do what we want for Christmas or what we've given in the past? We've hit a lot of what's given in the past, so maybe we should just clean that up, and then we'll jump to what we want for Christmas.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
Our address for what we want for Christmas, if you want to send it in, is just kidding. So what else have we given in the past that's been well received? Personally, Garmin InReach is something that I've either helped people acquire in my family or given. This has been an interesting one. Watches. So that's can be a more expensive purchase, but actually we just put the Coros Pace watch onto the website, and you can find some slightly cheaper watches. But the biggest thing I've noticed is that even for people who aren't like trail runners and backpackers, they like the watch. And the number one reason why is it's all the rage now to monitor things like heart rate for health purposes, even if you're not some big backpacker, right? So I literally just gave my dad my previous watch, not because he wants to like track miles on his watch, but because he wanted to check for things like sleep apnea, his pulse oxygen levels when he's sleeping, and just learn more about his health from a watch, which you can learn kind of a ridiculous amount of information about yourself just from monitoring heart rate and pulse oxygen. So I have a watch on there. I've helped some people get watches in the past, and that's been a really good one.
Well, there's a few more things on watches before we move on there. Personally, one of the best things that I like about watches is when I'm running or I'm out on the trail or something, I really like to be as minimal as possible. I hate having to carry around keys, a phone especially. Phones are just so clunky, and you put it in your pocket. That's the worst place you can put a phone when you're running around. It's slapping against your leg and whatnot. You really don't want those weird looking armbands and sticking a phone there. But if you want to be able to listen to a podcast or music or anything else, if you don't have a watch, like that's kind of what you have to do. You have to bring your phone along, right? But on a lot of these watches, especially we have the Coros Apex 2 Pro that we are now stocking for our Live Ultralight members. That one does allow you to download whatever you want on it and listen to it with Bluetooth headphones, and that's my preference. I like to have all of those health monitoring metrics like Tayson's mentioned, but I also really love to be able to listen to whatever I want and not have to take anything with me. I just kind of disconnect besides my watch. No one can send me texts. No one can call me. I'm out there running. I can, hike. I can trail run, whatever, and just listen to my audiobook or music or whatever, and still have that luxury and still be able to monitor, my distance or my heart rate and make sure I'm doing okay. And so, yeah, those watches are just kind of nice to have. And yeah, when your phone is near it, so just during your day-to-day, you can set it up to get, any of the smartwatch capability things going on there. So your texts and whatnot can show up on the watch as well.
Yeah. Okay. And then I've obviously given away a lot of sleeping bags and a lot of backpacks over the years, all well received. The popular one right now, because again, sometimes when you're shopping around, you're not always buying for the extreme backpacker. The Coda UL has been one that I've given quite a bit, and tons of people use it. Tons of people love it because anyone who's ever going to travel at all, whether that's in the car, on an airplane, etc., they just fall in love with that backpack. So giving away a lot of those. And then obviously starting Outdoor Vitals with sleeping bags. I've given away countless sleeping bags for Christmas, and always well received. But any other ideas for just things you've given in the past?
Yeah, so I've already mentioned some of the jackets I've given away, but on top of that, I've also given away booties, which we've covered. But those were really, really well received. I don't think we need to dive into those anymore. We've kind of covered just how nice those can be. Altitude hoodies, those have been really well received as well. I have my father-in-law, he's a football coach down in Mesa, Arizona, always out in the sun all day long, and he loves it. In fact, when they came and visited, they made sure to pick up a few more altitudes as well. So
nice.
Yeah, that's another really good one. Backpacks, the Cody UL, like Tayson mentioned, that's a great gift. And then one we haven't talked about actually is the Ventus. The Ventus Active hoodie is probably one of our most popular products right now. It has been featured in Outside Magazine, Backpacker Magazine, and it is just a phenomenal all-around.
Well, here's why I think that makes a lot of sense too, is that's another one of those products that's in a slightly niche category, meaning it's not a puffy jacket, but it's not like a sweatshirt, right? Like, so it falls in this category of being like a sub 7-ounce weight puffy hoodie that you can be active in. And so kind of because of that, it kind of falls in that like people really like, it's like, what the heck is this thing? And then they try it on, they fall in love with it. And it's a cool piece because of that. Cause it's just not like a big puffy jacket. It's not like the other side of that with the sweatshirt. And so, it falls into an interesting category that I think works well as a gift.
Out of any of our layers, any of our apparel layers, the Ventus to me has the widest range of comfort as far as temperatures go.
For sure.
It's crazy how much it vents and breathes, which allows you to, keep it on even when kind of the temperatures are heating up a little bit. Obviously, you can't be walking around in like 80-degree weather and be comfortable with that thing on, but 60s, you can probably still be wearing it as long as you're not really exerting yourself. But I've even been comfortable in the Ventus down to 20 degrees, especially when I'm out being pretty active. So anywhere between 20 and 50 to 60 degrees, depending on activity levels, you can actually be comfortable in the Ventus as long as you're, like I said, activity levels match kind of that temperature and what the Ventus can really handle. You got to keep some realistic expectations. It's going to be way too warm if you're running and it's 50 degrees out. That's just not going to be okay. But or if you're just trying to sit there and do nothing and it's 20 degrees, you're going to be way cold. But with varying activity levels and just doing lots of different things, like that's kind of it's like a jacket that you can wear all day. Especially I have a lot of friends. One of them, he's in construction. I got him a Ventus and he wears it all the time, especially in the fall when he needs to do like a project that requires some extra protection. He'll put on a layer over the Ventus so he can still, like in the winter, so he can still have that insulation and that breathability. He's got these nice vents in the underarms. But really, he just kind of wears it all day long and then takes off or puts on other layers depending on what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that covers most of what I've got for things I've given in the past. If you just, I'll throw this out there. I didn't say this earlier, but just backpacking food in general can be kind of a good filler item too that I've given away at times where it's like, okay, I'll give you this. And I'm going to throw a couple of these meals or something in there. But I typically like to let people kind of choose their own, like shoes and food, are things that are a little more tailored to your own preferences. So unless you know that person, it's something. But
so I've got one more idea here. And this isn't something that I've actually given to someone yet, but I think it fits.
So someone this year is getting this item.
It's very possible. I won't tell because, maybe they'll listen to this podcast. But it fits into the niche that Tayson's mentioned, of things that maybe someone can't or won't justify buying for themselves, but they really would like it once they get it and start using it, right? Mm-hmm. And that is the Nebo windbreaker.
Oh, yes.
So there's a few reasons for that. There's been a lot of people that I've heard say, I don't know if I need a windbreaker. My rain jacket blocks the wind, right? Plus the rain jacket also blocks the water. So can I just do that? And kind of the argument for that is, your rain jacket, even if you have the Tusher rain jacket, it's not going to be very breathable. Our Tusher rain jacket is vapor breathable, but not air permeable. But the Nebo is breathable, and
air permeable.
Air permeable, and so there's been a lot of feedback where people have told me, I'm not really sure I'm going to have a great use for it. And then I'm like, I've kind of convinced them to try it out anyways. And then after a few weeks, they've come back to me and say, you know what, this has actually become one of my favorite pieces of gear ever. This windbreaker is basically just, again, a couple ounces. It doesn't weigh very much at all.
Dude, that thing packs down to maybe the size of a baseball, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a couple ounces. So it is something you could literally throw in a purse, right? Or you could throw in, I don't know, for all you guys out there with fanny packs, like it's going to slide into a tiny fanny pack for sure. Like it's so easy to just have on you, which is kind of where a lot of the use can come from, just by having it with you all the time.
All the time. It's not a problem to have there at all. You can shove it in your pocket if you wanted to.
Done that.
But what really kind of surprises people about the Nebo windbreaker is, how warm it actually keeps you. A lot of people don't realize that usually the worst culprit for, making someone feel cold is actually wind chill, right? That's the most underrated cause of feeling cold. And so by shedding some of that wind chill with something like this Nebo windbreaker, you can actually feel a lot warmer without having to add any actual insulation. And so for just a couple ounces, you can have that comfort. And on the flip side, you're not going to start feeling sweaty and clammy and nasty like you would under a rain jacket. Again, some people think, the rain jacket will block the wind, which is true, but it will not let air through it to help you breathe. And so eventually you're actually going to feel colder wearing a rain jacket because your own sweat is going to start to cool down and make you feel kind of cold and nasty. Versus the rain or the windbreaker, you don't really have that. We've specifically designed it to be, wind blocking and breathable at the same time. And it has this nice balance of that. And so the Nebo windbreaker is one of these products that a lot of people have this mindset of, I probably won't justify spending, I think it's like $140 or something.
130, I think. I could be wrong.
They're like, I can't justify spending that because I've got, these other things that I can make work, right? But once they actually have one, almost every time the feedback that I get talking to these people is that I wish I would have bought this way sooner.
Let's talk a little bit about just some use case scenarios.
Yeah.
Because I think it's hard to always paint a picture of like, when am I going to use a windbreaker, especially when that's not a supernatural piece that people already have, right?
Here's a hint. I use mine every single day.
Yeah. Starting there. Anyone who is, say, exercising outside on a daily basis could use this product every single day from fall till spring. I just went out on a run this morning. I did a quick 5 miles. It was 34 degrees at my truck, which is cold when you get out of the truck. But the second you get 100 yards down the trail, the Nebo windbreaker is a perfect item for that, right? Because it's going to breathe, it's going to let out heat. But it also, like Derek said, the biggest thief of really being cold is, I wouldn't even say wind. I would say even breezes, right? Sub 10 mile an hour winds just can also just steal heat all the time. You don't have to be on the top of a mountain getting blasted by wind. That's not even what we're talking about. We're talking about any air movement.
Slow air movement even.
Yeah. So anyone who is consistently exercising outside during all of the winter months is definitely one use case. I actually kind of had a flashback to the whole conversation we had about getting on airplanes and freezing and getting too hot and then too cold. That's where a windbreaker works really well. Is that thing is super tiny, and I may be in the middle of the summer, but I'll still take one for airplanes because I'll throw that on an airplane because it gets cold up there, and all you need is you don't need a jacket a lot of times on there. You just need something because there's so many vents blowing in every direction at 100 miles an hour, right? So I've used it there. In the fall, fall and spring, I have one on me or in my backpack at all times because a lot of time, again, it's it's warm, but then a breeze picks up and it's suddenly cold. Or you just need, you almost want to just be if I could just switch the short sleeve shirt to a long sleeve, I'd be better right now. That's exactly when I'm going for that piece. So those are just some use case scenarios off the top of my head. Obviously, for backpacking, tons of use because you can actively hike in the piece and not overheat, not generate too much moisture buildup, et cetera, and they dry so fast because it's a 100% polyester. No, is it a nylon? it's a synthetic material. I'll have to check that. That's I should know that. But it's a synthetic material that dries extremely fast. So even if you did work up a little bit of moisture on it, let's say where your backpack is on your back, you pull that thing off, it's going to dry in seconds and be ready to go again. So just a phenomenal piece with there's just a couple of use case scenarios, but I don't know if you've got any other use case scenarios.
Yeah, like you've talked about running, but there's also like, riding your bike, any kind of air movement at all, even if you're not even riding your bike very fast and it's slightly chilly with that breeze and you're wearing a t-shirt underneath, a windbreaker is going to do the job 100%. You don't need a hoodie. You don't need a jacket. Throw on the windbreaker. You're going to be comfortable and not overheat. Eventually what happens by throwing on a jacket, if you're not, careful, is you start sweating and then you're cold anyways, right? From that wet jacket fabric all over you. So again, I wish we'd have thought of this sooner, but this is a great gift and only $130 full price. I mean, if you're watching out for our early Black Friday sale, like this is a phenomenal opportunity.
Like a sub-$100 item almost.
To give someone a gift that they're probably, I won't say always, but most likely they haven't bought for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll get off our little soapbox of preaching the Nebo because hopefully we've drilled that point home. But let's talk about what we want for Christmas. I'll let you start. Mine actually are not related to Outdoor Vitals. I'll say that.
Okay. So. Okay. Well, I've mentioned the Tesher. I've mentioned the Altitude hoodie or tees, more of those, just so I can have more to wear throughout the week. Another thing that's on my list actually is, again, Outdoor Vitals stuff, and it is the 2-person 40th trekking pole tent. The reason I want that is because my wife and I really enjoy backpacking and going on adventures with her. And currently, I only own the 1-person tent that I'm always taking out on company trips. Usually, we've been able to borrow a 2-person tent whenever her and I go out, but it would be nice just to have our own 2-person tent to use whenever we want. And so the 2-person 40th, we both really, really like because unlike there's some ultralight tent designs out there that, if you're on one side of the tent, you get kind of gypped on headspace just because of how the angle of the tent is. But on the 40th, both of us have ample headroom no matter which side of the tent we're on, and just plenty of space with the double doors, double vestibules. There's never been a time using that 2-person 40th where we've wanted any more space at all. So that's definitely on my list.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as other backpacking gear goes, a Helinox chair would be pretty dang nice.
Something I'm going to pitch really quick. I'm going to jump in here, and I hope we have not over-sponsored this podcast, but we are actively growing what's inside the member exclusive section. So those of you that don't know, the Live Ultralight membership is a store credit membership, $10 a month, gets you $10 in store credit in your account instantly. And that also gets you access to basically a gated set of products that we personally use, test, prove out in the field. It's essentially, if you were to go on a backpacking trip, it would be everything in our pack, right? Those kinds of things. And we're actively growing that. We're starting with a lot of food items. So look for a lot more food to be popping in, headlamps, battery banks. There's a handful of things that we're adding in there. Helinox chairs has been one that's come up. We'll see if we can pull that together and put that in there. But the whole point of this section is to give you really a one-stop shop for you to go and get stuff, but also a gated access area where you can get the absolute best prices on these things because you're going to get your 10% off that all members get off of everything on our website. Plus you can get rebates back in the terms of store credit. And so, and that's auto applied. It's not like we're saying, oh, mail this into us for this rebate. No, like an instant rebate. And so there's a lot of good things that are coming in that section. So just wanted to throw that out on your radar. And also in preparation for Black Friday, you may as well sign up for the membership to get extra savings on our sales because those savings stack up.
I will say that we've mentioned before, kind of towards the beginning of the podcast, but during our early Black Friday sale, everything site-wide is going to be discounted. If you're a Live Ultralight member, that discount is going to be a decent amount larger So you're going to get way more savings as a member. So if you've been at all thinking about the membership, like Tayson says, this is probably the best time of year to just jump on that, get better deals. You'll be able to get, all kinds of stuff, access to those members only products Tayson's been talking about. And just, it'll be a lot easier for gifts or just getting things for yourself on the trail.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you're wanting for Christmas?
Honestly, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I'm a simple man. If I have those things, I'll be pretty happy.
Nice. Okay, for me, obviously, like I own a lot of gear, I guess you could say. So I'm not going to go with anything in that category. Just trying to think of other stuff. And I've actually started to take my dog back out on trail a lot with me. And I've realized that I probably need to gear her up with some gear. So I'm actually going to be shopping for myself, I guess you could say, for a dog pack, probably some winter, like potentially a winter jacket if I'm going to take her out in the real cold where we go in the winter, and just some pieces like that, maybe even something. I guess I kind of have it taken care of what I could have her sleep on, but that's kind of what I actually was thinking about. I'm like, what do I need? What do I want? And that was the first thing that came up, is like, I can't take my dog in some of the conditions that I'll be heading into this winter. And so it's probably time for me to get her some backpacking gear. I tried some cheap stuff years ago and it just didn't work super well. So I'll probably fork out the money to go with more of a name brand, more proven gear, get it fitted really well, and we'll see. So,
actually, speaking of that, Maddie and I just got a dog as well, and we love her to death. But last night, actually, we were thinking about dog jackets. I go out running with our dog pretty much every morning, and then I was like, I don't want to stop in the winter, or I'd like to take her on trails or different hikes and things too. So we're thinking about what kinds of cool jackets and coats and things can we get so that the dog can come and we can all just go have some fun. We were just actually thinking about that last night.
Yeah, I need to do some research because my dog is a poodle mix, and so I've had her for 7 years. But in the winter, she gets a lot of snow stuck in her paws. So I may even have to look at something like that if I'm going to take her on 1 to 2 overnights in winter conditions. That would be something I would have to look into. I'd be interesting to see how she could do like cross country skiing.
Yeah,
like could she follow our tracks? Would she just sink to the bottom? I don't know. Maybe I'll dabble around with that. But yeah, I think that's probably number one on my list. Another thing that's coming that's not available yet. I really want to get the arm band from Coros. That's a heart rate monitor that's just that much more accurate than the watch for really high level fitness tracking and things. I already really enjoy like my InReach and some of those products. I may be looking. I don't know if I'll do this by Christmas or anything like that, but maybe looking at a few more, say, car camping type of items. So those are always good ones. Things like, really small, let's say tent heaters if I'm taking kids, or it's just, those kind of conditions. That's the thing about in the winter that people don't think about a lot is a lot of darkness. So you may be sitting in that tent a long time. Not always fun to jump straight into a sleeping bag, especially if you have the ability like car camping to do something else. In the next 12 months, I see a rooftop tent in my future or something like that. But probably won't pull that off by Christmas or something like that. But just some other ideas I'm floating out there of just cool stuff that I see that I've kind of been against rooftop tents for a long time, but I see a few advantages that I may lean into. Any other things that I would that cool new stuff I've seen? We skipped one that is in the membership. That is a pretty cool gadget. Flextail gear pumps.
Oh, that's right. And that would actually fit under the under $50 gift as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've got the Flextail X2, comes with a lantern, which I have actually found really useful. I didn't think I would. I have. So that's a nice one, especially if you're blowing up more than one pad or whatever. Like it's good for all scenarios. But for me, like if I'm going with my kids, I'm taking that every time just because I'm blowing up more than one pad. If I'm car camping, why not take that? And it's still super light. So a lot of people will still backpack with it year round. I usually draw the line at like a 2 to 3 night trip is kind of where I start drawing the line of like, I'll just use the pump sack versus that. And that's just a preference thing. A lot of these guys I think are going to be taking them on our 100-mile trips though.
I use mine again, similar to Tayson, 2 or 3 nights is the max. If we're going on like a week-long trip or something, yeah, I probably won't take it. But honestly, it is, a lot of that's probably from the charge aspect of some of these pumps. If you use it for, I think, 5 or 6 days in a row, you should be okay, but you're going to pretty much run low on the charge. And half the time I don't remember to charge it before a trip. And so I go,
I don't even remember your pad. What if you got did you have the Flextail pump on our last trip and no pad?
No, I didn't. I didn't have the pump. So I didn't pack that for no reason, thankfully. But honestly, it is so nice to have, like when you do remember a pad, and if it is like a shorter trip, and I'm not really worried about whether or not it's charged because it's probably still got enough charge in it.
Yeah,
I'm the worst at that, by the way. I've had headlamps die. I've actually had one trip where my Flextail gear pump was dead, and I brought it for nothing. I am pretty terrible at making sure some of my gear is charged before I leave, but.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, it does actually last quite a long time. I just personally don't take it on week-long trips for that reason, and because, it is a few extra ounces when I'm carrying like tons of pounds of food for that long. So,
yeah. All right, we better wrap this up, but I did mention this a little bit earlier. Headlamps is also something I've given in the past. Great Christmas gift. We do have the Nightcore NU25 and an HA11 now from Nightcore in the membership. So check those out. Awesome headlamps, super proven. And again, I've given headlamps in the past multiple times, and people love headlamps. You can't have enough headlamps. I've realized this. I have a lot of headlamps. I'm not even going to tell you how many. And when we got the new ones in, I was still excited to go get both models for my own personal storage. I just love headlamps. So you can never have too many headlamps or socks. So just remember that. Okay. Appreciate you guys joining us. It's always fun to just kind of play this out in our minds. Hopefully it just sparks some ideas. If you needed any ideas for this upcoming holiday season for others, maybe it's yourself, anyone. Make sure you guys shop the Black Friday deal. If you guys found this helpful at all, make sure to rate and review the podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. That helps us as we grow as a company and help more people get outdoors more comfortably and more confidently. Derek, thanks for coming on. Hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Enjoyed having you come on here. You get to do all of the pitchings, so that I don't even have to be a salesman on this thing. I like it. Not that that's the point of this, but yeah, I mean, hopefully there's some really good insights in there, and make sure you're subscribed. Hope you guys have an awesome holiday season. I hope you keep backpacking through the winter. That's a goal of mine. I really want to see more people not just go straight inside for the whole winter and knock it out and see the sun, and not, let themselves get into a funk per se. Get outside, make it a priority, and I hope we'll have more content coming on this podcast of ideas and ways to help you bridge that gap and do so confidently, comfortably. Obviously, we're not saying go out there and be uncomfortable. You can be totally comfortable backpacking, exercising, whatever it is in the winter, through the winter. Just have to have the right knowledge and the right gear, and that's what we're going to help you with in some future episodes. So,
yeah, here's a pro tip. Definitely look into getting cross-country skis, or at least making friends with somebody in a rental shop. Like, it's just so fun. I mean, if you've never done that before, especially in conjunction with backpacking, it's just so fun. Definitely something that'll get you out, moving around, and like Tayson said, just hopefully staying out of that funk. But yeah, winter backpacking, stay tuned. There's going to be some more stuff this year, I think.
Okay. We'll see you guys later. See you out there on the trail.